Thank you everyone for joining. I think we're going to kickstart this webinar. So I'm Svetla Baeva. I'm the communications lead with the innovation unit at UNDP Europe and Central Asia. And I'm going to be moderating our session today. And if you're new to Boost Talks, this is a webinar series where we're talking about exploring the different aspects of innovation for accelerating the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is organized by Boost, a UNDP-led acceleration program for impact innovation in Europe and Central Asia and beyond. And of course, Boost, this program wouldn't be possible without our wonderful partners at Koch Holding and the ministry, the Slovak Ministry of Finance. For today's Boost Talk, you're actually joining for the second webinar, part of our second edition of Boost Talks, which is great that we've been able to kickstart it again. For this talk, we've planned something special for you. We'll be talking about impact tech entrepreneurship and some of the new initiatives accelerating startups that are working to tackle some of our most pressing challenges today with regard to the environment and society. So we're thrilled to have with us today Funda Sezgi. She's the co-founder and managing director at the Norrsken Impact Accelerator. And the Impact Accelerator is part of the Norrsken Foundation, which brings together a global collective of entrepreneurs and investors in Sweden. And they try to invest, they invest in startups that are solving the world's biggest challenges, especially those that leverage technology to create and scale their innovative solutions to new and old challenges. And so today we're going to be hearing a lot about what Nordsken is doing, some of the key trends that they're seeing in the ecosystem, and how they're really working to strengthen the innovation ecosystem around impact, social impact. And we're currently recording this session for you, and we'll be sharing the recording later in a follow-up email. But of course, you can also go to our website, boostimpact.org, where you can see this recording and previous recordings of our sessions. And so now I don't want to waste too much time with this intro so that we can get really to the heart of this session. I'd like to give the floor to Funda. And afterwards, after her presentation, we're going to have time for a bit of discussion and Q&A. And while listening to Funda, if you have any questions, if you're having some thoughts popping up in your mind, feel free to share them directly in the chat box, and so that we can kick off the Q&A with them. So thank you, and without further ado, the floor is yours, Funda.
Thank you, Svetla, and hi everyone. Wonderful to be here today. Thank you for having me, and congratulations to the women innovators who made it to the Boost program. I really hope that you take your businesses to the next level with this great initiative. So I will just share my slides, and it's quite many of them, quite click-through slides I put together, and there'll be a lot of videos in the presentation as well. So if it gets overwhelming with videos, just like ping me in the chat or raise your hand, and happy to adjust the pace. But what I will talk about today is basically Norrsken Foundation and the ecosystem we built around us in order to enable impact tech entrepreneurs. So, as Svetla put it beautifully, we help entrepreneurs solve some of the greatest challenges. That's our reason for existing. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why we do that. But before, let's just watch a short video.
We call it the equation of the future. We believe that the world's greatest challenges are also the world's biggest opportunities. And that entrepreneurship and scalable technology are powerful forces for driving positive change. That's why Norrsken exists. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs solve the world's greatest challenges. Norrsken funds invest in the world's most promising impact startups. Norrsken houses are world-class workspaces with everything you need to be successful. Our events put you in the spotlight. Our partners provide the resources and experience you need to scale quickly. And our network makes you part of a global community of founders, operators, talent, investors, and mentors with a shared vision for a better world. Because at the end of the day, it's really quite simple. If you win, we all win.
Okay. Sorry. So, as you can capture from the video, I mean, the challenges that we're facing today are global, and it used to be much more local. Back in the day, you know, we used to fight the elements of the nature, things that affected us directly in a local context. And now when we face challenges that affects the entire world because of the interlinkages that we have, they are human-made, they are growing faster than the traditional problems and the solutions can handle. That's why we decided that we think the entrepreneurs can be a trigger for some of the solutions that the world needs to see. So because they're leveraging scalable technology, they're able to keep the pace of the problems that we are facing as well. So we truly believe in the power of entrepreneurs to actually tackle some of the biggest challenges that we see out there, anything from hunger, mental health, climate change, misinformation. There are lots of things that we see that needs to be tackled on a broader scale. And that's why, like, our sweet spot is actually at the intersection of these three circles. We think that entrepreneurship is essential because we need novel ideas to both new and old problems out there. We need technology in order to be able to scale these solutions. And if you leave out the impact box, what you get, the tech entrepreneurship, which has been really driving the world like for a while now. It is like the coolest, sexiest thing to be, you know, like you want to become a tech entrepreneur, build a scalable, successful business, and then take over the world. And what we think is that what is missing is that that box, that circle down there, that is impact. What do we use our superpowers for? What do we focus on solving? Can we actually solve problems that matter while we produce these brilliant new ideas and then scale them to affect the billions of people? So basically, like I'll tell you a little bit about the background of Norrsken as well, but our vision here is that we want to enable what we call impact unicorns. Not just unicorn companies. And I'm sure you're familiar with the term unicorn companies that are valued at $1 billion. And what we think we need is to actually enable companies that are not just only valued at $1 billion, but also affect 1 billion people's lives positively. So the combination is what we are looking for at Nordscan. You kind of captured that probably in the video, so I'll quickly go through these ones. We are a nonprofit foundation that is dedicated to dedicated to entrepreneurs who are solving some of the world's greatest challenges. And we are founded by one of the co-founders of Klarna. I don't know if you all are familiar with the company, but it is a fintech company that came out of Sweden, Stockholm, and that basically has reached a peak valuation of $50 billion. So really, truly successful, scalable tech business is at the core of Nordscan. We really, like our founder basically, having built a scalable, successful tech company, decided to use both the accumulated capital he made from this business, but also his knowledge and network in terms of for building taking these startups that we support to the next level. So we're really combining both the capital, knowledge, and the networks that we have in order to enable the startups that we work with. And what we ended up creating over the course of 6 years that we've been existing is a global impact ecosystem where the founders that we support can access knowledge, network, and capital they need in order to make it their job to make the world a better place. So like one of the, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur yourself, probably, I'm not sure like who else is in the audience, but you know that like some of the biggest challenges is actually accessing capital. But it never ends with accessing capital. Everyone says that like what they need is money in order to grow their business. But there's actually a lot to be built around the business. The money doesn't solve for everything. And we think that what we can do quite well is to then provide like both our expertise and knowledge in building scalable businesses, but also the network that we have built over the years who also want to contribute to the journey of the startups. So what we have, what I will tell now in the next slides is the different parts of Norrsken Foundation. So we invest capital in the startups that we support and then find ways to bring additionality to the capital that we put in terms of the extra support that they get. We have Norrsken houses, and UNDP is sitting with us in the Stockholm House. We're very proud to partner up with them both in our Africa and Sweden operations. And then we have initiatives that we trigger when we find great opportunities to enable impact entrepreneurs or put a spotlight on them. You've heard this, it's the largest hub for impact entrepreneurs, the house we built in Stockholm. That was our first flagship house, but we will continue building new houses. And when we decided to do that, the first location we picked was Rwanda. So a house is currently in beta launch mode in Africa. I'll tell you a little bit more about it, and we'll continue our expansion there as well. We have a VC fund, $130 million at the moment. The VC fund is based in Stockholm, covering Europe mainly, but then also has a global mandate to some extent. We have a fund in Africa. It's called Norrsken 22. It is a 200 million growth fund backing Africa's new tech unicorns, which I'll tell a little bit more about as well. And then there's the Norrsken Impact Accelerator, which is what I am currently in charge of. This is a pre-seed fund that's looking to support earlier stage companies that we detect in our network. And we host more than 300 events and networking opportunities each year because we really want these fantastic founders to tap into our broader network that have already come far and succeeded in their businesses. Our community consists of 1,500 entrepreneurs, and it's growing. 500 plus startups, 200 plus investors, over 20,000 visitors to our houses each year, and many events, including celebrations. We love parties, and I'll tell you about that as well. So basically, just to sum it up, I mean, this is basically an ecosystem where the founders can find everything they need to make saving the world their business. And because if they win, we all win. So how do we invest? This is basically like we started investing through Northscan BC in the first place. And like initially, actually, like just to give you a little bit of background, when we started setting up Nordscan, we said that like we will have some strategies in mind, but we will also always look for opportunities to make the most impact with the capital that we're spending. And this goes a lot on, before I go to this, I'll just give a little background so that I don't lose you in the slides. Because like we are very much driven by this philosophy that's called effective altruism. So for every dollar we spend, how much impact we create is extremely important to us. That's why we did not start with grand strategies, you know, for 10 years and this is what we are doing, but more as an organization, like almost like a startup at heart. We're like, okay, let's start doing this and then see where this is taking us, for the first steps that we proudly took. So initially we started 2 startups of our own. One of them I will tell you about a little bit later. And then over time, entrepreneurs started approaching us saying, hey, like we know that like you are starting your own companies, can you invest in our businesses as well? And then we started investing quite organically, just from the foundation until we decided to set up the fund. And eventually now where we are is that we attracted unicorn founders, institutional capital to the Norrsken VC fund that we built in Stockholm. And like I said, it has the Europe mandate and then to some extent a global mandate as well. So how we invest, what do we look at when we invest in companies? And this is across all the funds that we apply these principles. First of all, on the impact side, I mean, clearly, this is like our focal point to make sure that we are scaling impact in the efforts that we make. And we invest across all of the UN like Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. So we do not limit ourselves to any specific category. We are impact area agnostic. The only thing we want is that the impact is intentional and it is clearly measurable. And what I mean with intentional is that the impact is actually baked into the business. It's not an add-on, it's not a nice to have, it's not something that this company can drop, you know, when things go basically, well, not positive. So basically this is like so baked into the business model that like as the business is scaling, its impact is also scaling naturally. So it's not like, you know, we buy shoes and then, or like, yeah, let's say, take that. We buy shoes and then give one to Africa. This for us is not impact. This is something that can very easily be dropped out if the financials are not right. The companies that we support actually are trying to solve an impact problem that is like affecting the society or the environment. And then that is basically the core of the business. So that is like for us, the number one checkpoint. And then, of course, we care about the financial returns because we love profits. Like we firmly believe that without profits, you will not be able to scale your business. And you not scaling your business basically also means that you will not be able to scale your impact. So profits is basically an essential component of this whole picture for it to be sustainable in the long run. And then on the tech side, like I mentioned previously, technology is a tool for scaling the solutions. So that's why we pick companies that actually have a clear tech component as well, or their solution is based on a tech component. And then when it comes to the stage, we support companies from pre-seed, so early, like, I mean, almost idea stage companies sometimes, all the way to Series A and beyond. Like I mentioned, we have several funds that we're operating right now, and then they have different global mandates and focuses in terms of geographies. Great. So a little bit more on the Norrsken VC and how we're thinking around this. I don't know if you've heard this data before, but less than 1% of global capital goes to impact businesses. This, like, if you massage the data enough, you might get 2, because it is actually like it is moving in the right direction, but it is still quite interesting that like a major part of the capital is going to building businesses, but then we do not care about what's going to happen to the society and the environment while we're building these businesses. So like one of the key reasons for that is that like everyone thinks that if they might invest, I mean, like historically investors have been believing that if they invest in impact companies, that means that they actually will have to compromise on their profits. And we really want to prove them wrong. Like we want to show the world that impact and profit can go hand in hand. And actually, the world's greatest challenges are really the biggest opportunities also in terms of like the financial side of the story. So this is not charity, this is not philanthropy, this is basically a great business opportunities built on relevant problems that are out there. So 130 million venture fund that invests in solving some of the world's biggest problems while building massive businesses is the goal for the Norrsken VC. Backed by both unicorn founders like Daniel Wellington and the founders of King and Muyang initially, and then we now have also institutional capital like the banks, the major banks in Sweden. The Norrsken VC has already made 33 investments up to date. And this is across different categories. You have education, climate, food security, workers' rights and whatnot. So Northvolt, for instance, just to give a couple of examples from this slide. Northvolt is the largest electrical battery factory in Europe. This is basically a mega business already. And as you know, the electrification that we all need to go through actually requires that we do have the batteries. And that's really solving for that problem and super exciting business. Also on the electrification side, Einride is a very interesting example. They have built a truck, driverless, fully electrical truck. And they have been now selling their big fleets to major players in the world. And I mean, this was basically a team that we met when there were two people saying that they're going to build these gigantic trucks and they're going to be autonomous. And now the products are out in the market, and it's like definitely a super exciting solution. And now we have, for instance, Climate View that actually targets the cities. Stockholm City, how are you going to be carbon neutral? That is the problem that they are trying to solve. So, there are many activities, actions ongoing, and everybody is talking about how do we actually collaborate and make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. And Climate View is aiming to build that solution. Or Ignitia is a great example as well. It's an Africa-based startup. Like the farmers that live in the tropical regions have it very challenging to actually get accurate weather forecasts. And Ignitia uses deep tech to then really turn it into a very simple information that the farmers can read in order to increase their yields. And last time I checked, they increased their yields by like 60%. So really, really exciting solutions within this group. So what we want to again show is that like impact and profit can go hand in hand, and like just to place Norrsken and where our sweet spot is in the big range of organization types that we have. You have charities and philanthropies all the way to the end, just going for the impact and social benefit. And then some organizations are aiming to at least cost cover, but not necessarily make profits. And then you have organizations like the Norrsken VC that aims to show that the financial returns and impact returns are balanced and can go hand in hand. And then at the far right end, we have socially neutral business models and venture capital firms that are going for the deeper end of the financial return benefits only. It is really, the lines are blurring a lot, by the way. I mean, this is a picture that is that helps understand a little bit the different types of players, but lots of organizations are trying to explore and find ways to pick up on each other's learnings as well. So a little bit more on Norrsken 22. We set this up in, 2022. And the reason for that is because we really think that Africa is an extremely exciting geography. There's rapid population growth, widespread technology adoption. Emerging tech leaders are positioning Africa as a future economic powerhouse. So you see a lot of success stories that are coming out of Africa, and this is basically how ecosystems are built, right? I mean, especially in the entrepreneurial spaces. Risk capital invests in the next generation risk capital. So the companies that have succeeded are now backing founders that are basically coming into the space now. So we started working with these very exciting individuals and organizations. The problem is still that there's a lack of capital that's holding the growth back. And in Africa, you see a lot of attempts or solutions for the earlier stage capital injections for startups. But when it comes to the growth stage, there is a huge gap. I mean, they lose their opportunities when they actually need to grow and scale. And that's basically what we are aiming to change. And this is a $200 million growth tech fund, again, investing in exceptional entrepreneurs that are building Africa's next tech giants. And like I said, I mean, we have put together, like in everything we're building, we are fortunate enough to attract brilliant people, including like unicorn founders and business leaders that actually want to make their region prosperous. So lots of great organizations are a part of this journey as well. And Norrsken 22 invests in like across these 4 categories mainly. One is, I mean, you can kind of like sense that these are the main needs in the region. MedTech, well, obviously healthcare is a challenge that we need to solve for in like many of the countries, Africa in particular. So we want to make sure that we remove the inefficiencies in the system, provide access to critical, affordable and quality healthcare. We invest in EdTech. Obviously, education is one of the core issues underlying like societal problems. So if we can actually help individuals access education or remove the inequalities in the access, then we will be able to also like kind of increase or solve for the employment and poverty alleviation problems as well. And then fintech, I mean, obviously, this is basically like unlocking the opportunities of the businesses to have these kinds of solutions as well. And like we have really brilliant solutions that actually build it in a much more like inclusive way than we know. So I can give one example with the accelerator companies later. And then market enablers. I mean, one thing that we need in these like geographies in particular is that we need to really help build the infrastructure for the solutions to be able to hold together. So market enablers is also one category that we invest in. And then Norrsken Impact Accelerator. This is basically what I am currently in charge of. So we decided to start the accelerator because, again, I mean, there's like a capital that goes like that is mainly prominent in the seed stage until maybe series A, B, and then like in Africa, growth is a challenge, like I said. So basically, I'll just rephrase what I said. Pre-seed to early seed companies have it more challenging to access capital. Everyone is expecting that like the startups bootstrap coming to that stage where it becomes interesting for the investors. And we see that in the impact space, there's actually like a great graph like showing that early stage investments in impact is increasing, but it is still a little bit the later stage startups that get the access to the capital. So this is basically how we started thinking, like, are we able to bring sufficient number of and like quality of startups to the pipeline, not just of Norrsken funds, but other funds out there as well, so that we see more companies coming into the space. And that's how we decided to build it. And now you can just watch a short video here as well.
Climate change,
integration,
Hunger,
poverty,
biodiversity loss.
The world needs scalable ideas, and we need it quickly. The world's greatest challenges are also the world's greatest opportunities. Politicians might move, but they move slowly when they do, and we don't have that time. We need to disrupt the systems with speed.
Entrepreneurs are our best bet to solve our world's biggest problems.
The entrepreneurial mindset is one of the most powerful characteristics.
A force.
almost an obsession with solving a problem.
The purpose of Norrsken Impact Accelerator is to solve the equation of the future, providing the knowledge, network, capital, so that these ideas can be scaled even faster.
It really felt like we were invited to the room where it all happens.
There is no limit, not even the sky is the limit. Being crazy enough to think that you can change how something has been done for maybe decades. That's crazy, but it's also one of the most powerful driving forces, not resting until the job is done.
So that is the accelerator in a nutshell. So less than 15% of global pre-seed funding goes to impact startups, and we want to change that as well. So bring more capital and talent to impact. That's basically the underlying theme across everything. We have made 40 investments to date. These are the companies from last year's batch that you see here, but like one company I can highlight on the fintech front, as I just mentioned that I'll highlight one, I'll pick that one up. Acelimia, I think is a fantastically interesting business. They're based out of Kenya. And what they are solving for is the challenge that micro businesses in Africa face. So there are 150 million micro businesses only in sub-Saharan Africa. And with micro businesses, I mean those like 1 or 2 people companies, you know, they're basically pretty much doing their business on pen and paper. You know, you sell something and then you take a note of that. And when these companies, these micro businesses want to grow their businesses and get credits from the banks, they get incredibly high interest rates, like 200%. And that's because, you know, no one knows Funda's little business because I'm basically just taking notes of my transactions. No one knows the volumes, so I'm not bankable. And that means I cannot grow my business. And then I just stay in this loop of just saving the day every day. And what Acelimia did is that they put together a digital ledger. So instead of writing down your transactions, you basically just enter that information on your phone or on your computer. And what that gives then in the end is that, well, first of all, you then see which products you're selling at the end of the month and how much you're selling in different seasons and months. So first of all, it gives you business intelligence for free for you to use so you can make wise decisions about your business. But then they also, Acelimia also like connects these micro businesses to the banks, if desirable by the micro business, obviously. So, but then the micro business is then able to get credits at a market rate, because now this is actually a business that is showing that it is working. So this is like a fantastic business opportunity, because there are so many companies like that that can actually tap into this, and the banks really want to work with these micro businesses. And then it is like a financial inclusion at its best, because like there's 150 million businesses just in sub-Saharan Africa that will benefit from this solution. So this is basically like what we mean, like we need these kinds of solutions in order to be able to help with the economic process, progress. So these companies are then matched with brilliant mentors, founders, advisors. I mean, we normally only work with mentors that are entrepreneurs themselves. So either we're unicorn founders or serial entrepreneurs, like people who have been on the trenches themselves, who have like been through the blood, sweat, and tears of building scalable, successful companies. So they know how to help these startups beyond like your textbook advice, let's say. So like seriously, if I build a company, I want to go through this program myself. I mean, it's like you meet with brilliant people that can help you take your company to the next level. And then of course, we then have a demo day, like quite usual to your like accelerator setup, with Norrsken sparkles and glitters on top. Like really top investors are in the house, in the space, watching which companies we support so that they are taken to the next level after we are through with them. So maybe one company from the accelerator, if I have time, I'll show that video, and then you can see the type of companies that we support.
Hi. We at Quara are so excited to pioneer neobanking for credit unions. A credit union is a bank owned by its clients. Some of the biggest banks in Europe are credit unions, and 1 in every 3rd American is a direct member. Andreessen Horowitz just published a thesis paper imagining credit unions as the new modern digital banks. The problem is credit unions in emerging markets have been left behind. Core banking software is too expensive, leaving them stuck with legacy systems, and anything they try to repurpose leaves them prone to fraud. We give credit unions a banking back office and their members a neobank. With our credit union operating system, they can run a modern banking business. And with our neobank app, they can capture consumer demand with rich financial products that are social and fun. And it's working. We have won the credit union's trust. We serve 50,000 end clients and growing who already transact up to $40 million a month on our platform. And we enjoy 100% retention of 40 credit union clients in Kenya, South Africa, and the Philippines. That's right, we're live on 2 continents. We can profitably scale a global neobank using credit unions as an acquisition engine. That's a $50 billion revenue opportunity because investing in a great product gets us the credit unions, which in turn gets us the end clients at a $0 acquisition cost. We earn a SaaS fee and take a percentage commission on each transaction. We're also perfectly set up for a marketplace model where we can distribute third-party services. We will hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue in 4 years. We are currently at $15,000 MRR and are growing at 48% per month. And unlike our competitors, we combine banking back office with a neobank experience like no one else, allowing us to enjoy the rich and product stickiness of a traditional core banking provider and the growth engine of a neobank. Our team is excited and experienced with backgrounds in machine learning, M&A, and having successfully exited companies to Visa and ACI. We're also backed by fantastic investors, including Google and MasterCard. So join us as we redefine neobanking for the people, by the people. Thank you.
That's it. So those were the investment sides, and very quickly on the houses and the initiatives as well. I mean, Stockholm is, I guess, Louise, you have been there. Ricard, I believe you have been there as well. It is not your average workplace. I mean, we basically, we have a community of around, or our community is around 80% impact tech entrepreneurs, and the rest is other ecosystem players like investors or like UNDP that are looking to basically support impact initiatives and startups as well. And we subsidize our impact members' fees, like if they have actually a clear impact focus. And then we have like a lot of partners that are trying to help these companies in their journeys as well. So our partners are also engaged deeply in bringing them to scale. And then I mentioned that other than the Stockholm House, we actually started a house in Africa. And like the reason for that is really the growing population and like and also like many of a large portion of the population being entrepreneurial focused and also particularly being women. So we really love the region. They're leapfrogging on everything that we failed at. And there's currently 400 million in labor force, and it is expected to grow by 70%, which is telling us there is like a huge opportunity there. And why we chose Rwanda is because of mainly ease of doing business and the impact potential of our initiative. So it takes 6 days to register a business in Rwanda. They're basically one of the fastest growing GDPs, save for the COVID times. And there are 200 million people living in East Africa. And the way we think about the Rwanda House is that it is basically a gateway to the entire East Africa region. And they're #1 globally for women representation in the parliament. So really exciting country. This is basically what we are now building, really, really exciting space. Currently, 300 entrepreneurs are already sitting there. And in the second phase, we will be able to host 1,200 entrepreneurs, not just coming out of Rwanda, but also East Africa. And I mentioned that we love hosting great events. We think that we really need to celebrate the fantastic entrepreneurs that are making the world a better place. We even throw morning raves before work sometimes. These are basically just sober parties from 6:30 a.m. till 8:30. People dance like crazy, and then we get back to our computers and work. And again, I think like sometimes when we talk about the global challenges, you know, be it on the social or environmental front, it's always like the doomsday, like everything is like impossible to save. And we think that like there is actually, there are fantastic examples that are driving the positive change. And we need to accelerate those, and we need to celebrate those. That's why we do Raves. And then finally, very quickly on the initiatives, like I said, you know, we have our strategies that are now being established a little bit. We have the houses and the funds that gives the entrepreneurs access to capital, networks, and knowledge. But we also always look for opportunities that has like high risk with, high impact. So the three examples, the first one is 29K. This is basically how our journey started at the beginning. Like I mentioned, we actually incubated 2 startups of our own, and 29K was one of them. They're basically, it's a mental health organization. It's called 29K because we have only 29,000 days in our lives. So the purpose is to tell or remind ourselves is that let's make it worth, you know. And what basically this organization aims to do is to create like an accessible tool for everyone. It's a non-profit organization, and it is basically connecting individuals with groups in order to tackle their mental health issues, anything from like loneliness to isolation to other mental health challenges. So it's really personal growth and democratizing that. And then Osmond Labs is another organization that we recently supported. It is basically the psychedelic substances used for solving some of the mental health challenges. It's quite unconventional, like particularly in Sweden, like anything like psychedelic is basically has been a no-go. But now the research is picking up again. Like we're basically just linking back to the beginning of the pharmaceutical industry's developments and like how we can actually have alternative solutions than what we see in the markets like antidepressants and whatnot to tackle some of these challenges. And then finally, like during COVID or at the beginning of COVID, we basically dropped everything we were doing. And then in 48 hours, we put together a platform that brought together like many partner organizations and also we about partner organizations in order to support the startups, but also we also gave them some financial support as well. So that's basically what we try to do. Whenever we see an opportunity, we then try to come in to support. So that's basically it. That is Norrsken for you. I have more videos of startups if it is at all interesting, but this is the end of the presentation, and I believe we might have some questions.
Thank you so much, Funda, for the brilliant presentation. It was super interesting to learn more about what Norrsken is doing. We have time now for a Q&A, so we haven't had any questions yet, but I'd really encourage our audience to drop any questions they have in the Q&A. But we have some questions, so maybe we're going to kickstart our Q&A with a couple of questions that we had in mind. You mentioned that your whole network your network of mentors and founders, you strive to engage people who are working in unicorn businesses. What would you say, especially for early stage startups and starting out entrepreneurs, especially those that are dealing with impact, what are the valuable insights that unicorn founders and unicorn businesses can give to them? What are some of the insights do you think that are very valuable for those that are starting out?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been building Nordscan also like with Niklas, our unicorn that has been supporting us. So like there's a certain startup mentality when like you're building a business and having this scalability mindset. So very concrete example like of what Niklas told me at the beginning of my journey at Nordscan was that always make yourself redundant. Always find ways to make yourself redundant. And this is a mentality that if you adapt from day one, you know, as a leader or as one of the team members, what ends up happening is that you basically create time for value creating activities instead of just like trying to do things on an ongoing way. So like normally when we recruit a full-time person to our team, you can always fill up their time with things, right? There's always that slack that needs to happen, etc. And like instead of that, like how do you make sure that like we're all laser focused on what we create value with? And then in doing that, you know, 2 times later, the same job should not take me the same amount of time, resources, and energy. I should already have found a way to basically either way automate it or have a template for it. Or so this is basically how you build scalable companies from the beginning. If all the team members work in this way, then, you know, like it's not about like me making myself redundant and putting someone to do the job, but more building it so that no one has to do the job. And then we look for how we create value. I think that's one of the things that I find the most inspiring from the unicorn's journey.
Thanks, Funda. Great answer. We have a question from Rosen Dimov, who wants to know a little bit more about the common challenges that the cohort as part of the accelerator is facing. So what are some of the challenges that the entrepreneurs, what are the challenges that they're bringing up as part of the program, and how are you supporting them around these challenges?
Absolutely. So basically, I mean, it's like common things that you all know. Access to capital is a challenge for all the startups. So, you know, how do we make sure that these startups are investment ready is one of the focuses of the program. So like, you know, how, because they have, sometimes we have brilliant startups that come from like, that come with brilliant ideas. Say 3 scientists working on a deep tech solution. They don't know how to necessarily package it in the right way for the investors to be able to relate to it. So we help a lot with that. So that's one thing, access to capital, and then investors, and being able to build those relationships so that when it's time, when you need the money, you actually have money lined up. That's one thing. And then access to talent is a huge challenge, because I mean, at the beginning of the journey, you have a great story, a very keen small team, and that's basically it. So why should a talent come and work for you? So we try to kind of work around those questions as well. Generally, I mean, it ends up being like, I mean, all these things that, of course, we support with, at the end of the day, the startup has to figure it out themselves. We can only guide and advise as to how to think about these questions and like what resources to go to and whatnot. But then other than that, it is really like general like business strategy questions, as in, you know, if you're a B2B business, you know, like what should my go-to-market strategy be? You know, why should I not do B2C? Should I combine those? Which markets should I explore? And then what are the hurdles of like entering different markets and whatnot? Those are big questions. But also, like, one of the challenges that we startups face is that they need a huge spotlight on them, because I mean, there are so many startups out there starting up new fantastic ideas, and if you cannot break through the noise, then it is very difficult to get to the capital, get to the talent. So like, how do they tell their stories, and how can we support them in highlighting their stories? How can we make sure that they reach the right audiences, both in terms of talent, investors, and then potential collaborators as well? That's how we support them in general. Have I answered? Yeah. And then how do they support each other and learn from each other? Fantastic question. I mean, this is actually something that we work on a lot. I mean, one thing that's like we always strive to do when we like run the accelerator is that we should not waste a minute of the founders that join the program. they're already busy, like every day is a survival matter, basically. So they should not sit in classrooms listening to things that they don't find relevant. So we do a lot of like one-on-one mentorship in like super tailor-made to the questions that they actually need to answer at that very exact time. But also like the group of entrepreneurs that they're in the same batch with. And like, I don't know how many entrepreneurs are listening to this right now, but your batch is the best source of knowledge, information, network, support, by all means. So we try to trigger that without creating too much of, like, you should be focused on your own business, but you should also know that the answers are mainly in the room. So what we do in the accelerator is that every Monday, the entire batch gets together and they talk about what they have achieved last week, what are their goals for this coming week, and then what they can get help with. And generally, the answer is in the room. They don't even need to go to their mentors for some of the problems. Someone has done that template before, or someone also is asking the same question. So let's bounce it together. So we try to nurture that a lot, but not to a point that you cannot focus on your own business.
Thanks, Funda. So we have a couple of questions that are streaming in, and I think one of them is quite interesting about balancing profit and impact. So what is the model behind that? And especially in terms of the startups that you're investing in, for example, do you expect some of these startups to reinvest, for example, a percentage of their profits in impact? Or what is the model behind what you're trying to push in terms of the accelerator?
Yeah, I think, like investing part of your profits to impact is like is what I tried to describe before. Like it's basically, it is the one that would probably be not sustainable, like when the finances are not going right. Like that would be the first budget that the leadership would attack. That's why we don't think that is actually the working model, but more that we need to find businesses that actually are solving an impact problem at their core. So take one example again from the accelerator companies. They are producing carbon neutral cement from like by basically turning industrial waste into cement. They're actually removing carbon from the whole production process. So that company is creating impact by nature as they're operating. And if they scale their impact, if we actually use that cement when building our new buildings, we're actually solving for a problem while solving for another problem. So like those are the companies that we pick. And that's why like I keep emphasizing that the world's greatest challenges, which is now the climate and the carbon, there are so many opportunities out there that we can tackle and then reinvent the way that we do things that is actually going to solve for the global challenges as well. And these are fantastic business opportunities. Read Bill Gates' book. He is like highlighting cement or construction industry at large as one of the biggest challenges that we need to tackle. So we always like to try to find those kinds of solutions, but then there are also some solutions that are much more on like deeper impact sense, and it might take a long while before they actually make the big bang, like in terms of the financial side. And those are extremely important as well. And so for one example, also from the accelerator companies, a mosquito business. I don't know if you know, but mosquito is the deadliest animal for humans, like in the world, because of malaria and all the diseases that they carry. And they're not really contributing to the ecosystem in a way that's like that we should be worried about. So this company, Molecular Attraction, they are using beet juice. So it's organic, it's no pesticides, so it's not bad for the environment, and then it only kills the right mosquitoes, like the ones that are going to reproduce. So this company is now going to both tackle like developing countries as well as developed countries. So in the developed, they'll probably make more money, and then developing countries is where we solve the actual problem. So it's like, again, a great solution. Will take a time, but super, super relevant to tackle. So we always look for these opportunities rather than trying to sugarcoat the impact and then give ourselves a high five for it.
Okay, so I mean, you're not looking at it as something separate.
Yeah.
So as you know, we're currently running a Women Innovators program at Boost, and where we support women-led startups and women-led nonprofits and working on innovations like leveraging the power of technology to advance gender equality. So with this in mind and having your background in innovation and entrepreneurship, what would you say? And there was a question as well around this. It'd be interesting to hear from you about, for example, what are the percentage of the startups now as part of the accelerator at Norrsken that are led by women? And a little bit maybe insight regarding what are the specific challenges that women face in innovation and entrepreneurship, and what would your advice be? I mean, this is a threefold question, but what would your advice be to entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs?
I mean, first of all, like I'm definitely a champion of women innovators. So fantastic that you have this initiative. We need many more of these, indeed. And the numbers are there. It's very clear. Again, 1% of capital goes to female founders globally, and then I think it's around 12% of like senior investors are females, and then only 9% of C-suite executives are females. So like we're clearly nowhere near having done too much of it. That we're trying to balance the picture, but. I mean, the challenges is that it's a structural problem that takes time to change, right? I mean, now when we look for female founders, they should have gone through the education then to be tech founders or like any founder. So it's a long process to catch up on. But again, I mean, I don't think there has ever been a better time to be a female innovator founder than there was before. So the world is definitely getting better. We have a long way to go to actually fix the problems. But at the same time, I mean, like everyone is looking for women innovators, female founders, like all the VCs, all the investors are trying to balance their portfolios. So there is actually a concrete effort right now. So like my recommendation would be that don't be shy, just go get it. I mean, it is now almost an advantage to be different, not just a woman, but like inclusivity is a question at large. And there are many opportunities that are popping up that are like specifically dedicated to entrepreneurs coming from different backgrounds. So that's one thing. I mean, just like do your homework, find those funds. They are deliberately looking for you. And then also, like find funds that have females in their teams. I mean, you'll probably more likely going to get in the room because they started the change in their own team. That means that there's going to be a change in their portfolio as well, even if they don't have any yet. So I think like I would really do much more like filtered approach to fundraising because the opportunities are becoming endless at that front. And from the accelerator perspective, we like last year we had 40% mixed teams and 60% male only in the accelerator. It is easier to pull off like a balanced portfolio if you have certain geographies as focus. But when you make it global, the challenge is the challenge that we see basically. And however, then we said, but maybe we're not doing our homework right either. It's a numbers game. If we don't have enough number of female founders coming into the pipeline, then we will not see more coming out. So we really made the utmost effort into reaching out to female founder communities, groups, to actually look at a larger pool than we had received the previous year. And so from last year to this year, the portion of mixed teams increased from 40 to 55%. And mixed teams are female founder only, or there is a female founder in the core team. So it's really like, it takes like, two to tango, like both sides need to do their homework basically.
Thank you. I hope this answered our participants' question. we are going over time, but I'd try to get in a couple of more questions to you because it's so great that we have you. And I think one of these next questions is pretty interesting and pretty relevant to a lot of startups that, especially starting out. So globally, over 90% of startups fail. This is the statistic that the participant is putting out. And how do you manage for that risk as part of the accelerator program?
I mean, Accelerator injects small capital to the startups that we support. I mean, it's 125,000. I mean, that should be actually super relevant and like a good start for the level of companies that we support. And we're able to support 20 companies at a time. So like we know that like some of them will not make it to the end of the first year. And we know that like maybe like actually the statistics is there, maybe 3-4 of them will be the ones that will actually make it to all the way to the end. And that's how you build portfolios as well. I mean, if we have one company that succeeds out of this batch, all the way to the unicorn status, then they will basically cover for the entire batch. So we take risks in order to be able to create role models of success, or help create. We're not creators. We're very humble about our support to the startups. But if we can basically help create role models of success, that will bring more capital and talent to impact. And so out of 20, 1 succeeding would be fantastic. 10 succeeding would be brilliant.
Thanks, Funda. And just maybe to wrap up our conversation today, could you tell us a little bit more about what's in the pipeline for the accelerator? What are you planning? Are there any open calls that are coming up that might be of interest to kind of the audience that follows UNDP? Yeah.
For sure, definitely. We have been doing the accelerator once a year up until now. So 2 batches has happened in 2 years, but we now want to increase the number of startups that we support to 40 per year. And also, I mean, this is a little bit premature, but we are aiming to actually have a call that is open for the entire year rather than just accepting them in a certain period of time. And that is because we really want to be founder friendly and meet the entrepreneurs where they actually need us. And that could be different times of the year. So we're thinking of like after this accelerator, we will make the decision. So a bit premature, but I'm happy to share here. Just like we might actually just call for applications already from October and then ongoingly. So if you have great ideas, I mean, we want female entrepreneurs for sure. Male entrepreneurs as well. So you're most welcome to apply, definitely.
Thank you so much, Funda. Well, I think we're going to wrap up today's session. Thank you for the wonderful presentation and for sharing your time with us and our audience. We've streamed this live on Facebook. It's also we're going to send out the recording and send it out. Thank you for everyone who's joined us. And if you want to follow updates around Boost, feel free to register for on our website at the bottom at boostimpact.org. And yeah, thank you for everyone who's joined us, and stay tuned for our next Boost Talks that we'll announce in next month.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy.
Right.
Thank you so much.